the first Descendant. If you're into shooters with big, dynamic environments and a healthy dose of futuristic gear, the first Descendant might just be your new addiction. It's got that fast, fluid combat, where you're constantly moving, aiming, and dodging, and it makes every encounter feel epic. You're not just shooting, you're using all these unique abilities that each Descendant has, and they're honestly so fun to play around with. Whether you're summoning shields, blasting enemies with elemental attacks, or even leaping from enemy to enemy in a cool, acrobatic attack, the gameplay feels fresh and satisfying. You can choose from a roster of Descendants, each with their own skills and style, so there's a lot of room to experiment and find what works for you. The first Descendant doesn't hold back when it comes to boss battles. These aren't your average, shoot a few rounds and they're done bosses. We're talking about massive, screen-filling enemies that require real strategy to beat. You have to learn their attack patterns, dodge their moves, and work with your team to take them down. It's challenging, but in a way that keeps you on your toes, and makes every victory feel like a big win. It's the kind of game where you'll high-five your friends, virtually at least, after a tough battle. One thing that sets the first Descendant apart is its emphasis on teamwork. You can play solo, sure, but the game really shines when you're running missions with friends or teaming up online. The Descendants are designed to complement each other, so if you're working together with a good group, it adds a ton of strategy to the combat. Inside, this game is proof that you don't need a massive open world or flashy graphics to create a totally gripping experience. It's all about atmosphere, mystery, and those quiet, chilling moments that get under your skin. So you start as this little boy, and there's no introduction, no backstory, no clear direction. You're just there, in this dark, almost eerie world. Right off the bat, you know something's up, but you don't know what or why. And that's part of what makes it so good. There's this mystery that drives you to keep moving forward. The game never tells you what to do or how to feel. It's all up to you to interpret what's going on, which makes it feel really personal. It's like a silent story where you piece together the narrative. Now, the puzzles and inside are fantastic. They're not the kind of puzzles that feel like random obstacles. They're more like these clever challenges that are woven into the world itself. Everything feels like it belongs there, which adds to the immersion. The game wants you to think, to take your time, and solve things in a way that feels natural. And when you do figure out a tricky part, it's super satisfying. The puzzles aren't so hard that they take you out of the experience, but they're definitely engaging enough to keep you on your toes. And let me just say, Inside doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a relatively short game, but that's part of what makes it so impactful. It's tightly crafted, with no filler, no fluff, just pure atmosphere and storytelling. You can play through it in a few hours, but those hours are filled with a constant sense of awe and unease. Into the Dead, Our Darkest Days. You know when you dive into a zombie game and you're bracing yourself for the same old storylines and tropes? Forget that here. This game takes a bold step in a completely fresh direction. Our Darkest Days puts you in the middle of Texas during the early days of a zombie apocalypse, and it's a side-scrolling survival game. I know, a 2D perspective might make you think it's limited in scope, but the way this game builds tension, atmosphere, and stakes with that view is absolutely genius. The gameplay is survival-focused, which means scavenging for supplies, managing resources, and making tough decisions. And I do mean tough. The game doesn't hold your hand, and that's what makes it so satisfying. Every choice you make feels significant, whether it's deciding which supplies to grab or what risks to take. There's this constant weight to your actions. What's brilliant, though, is how the game nails this balance between challenge and accessibility. It's not overwhelming, but it's not forgiving either. You'll have moments where you're barely scraping by, and then something clicks, an item you find or a plan that works, and you feel like a total genius. It's that kind of gameplay loop that keeps you coming back for more. The game doesn't just throw zombies at you, it throws moral dilemmas and emotional punches. Whether you're a fan of survival games, love a gripping story, or just want something fresh in the zombie genre, this game is an absolute must-play. Manor Lords. It's got a perfect mix of city building, real-time strategy, and historical vibes that make you feel like you've been dropped into the Middle Ages. It's not just about plopping down buildings and calling it a day. You're designing a real, functioning town that has to deal with things like resource management, seasonal changes, and the happiness of your villagers. And then there's the economy. Balancing your resources is a challenge, but it's the good kind of challenge. You'll be growing crops, trading goods, and figuring out how to survive through the winter without your people starving. It feels incredibly satisfying when everything clicks, and you see your little village thriving with bustling markets and happy villagers. It's like, look at my kingdom, I did that. But wait, there's more. Combat. Oh yeah, Manor Lords isn't just about peaceful town building. There's also real-time strategy for those of us who want to flex our military might. The battles feel epic, with soldiers marching in formation, archers raining arrows, and cavalry charging in for that dramatic finish. It's not overly complicated, but it's strategic enough to keep you on your toes. Plus, the scale of it all feels just right. You're not commanding thousands of units, but it's big enough to feel like a real medieval skirmish. One thing I absolutely love about this game is how much freedom it gives you. Want to focus on being a benevolent lord who builds a prosperous town and trades with neighboring regions? Go for it. Want to be a conqueror, expanding your territory and crushing anyone who gets in your way? UNRECORD, a game that flips the script on the FPS genre and gives you something truly unique, the perspective of a body camera. It's raw, immersive, and honestly, unlike anything you've ever played before. What sets UNRECORD apart right away is how it feels. You're not a bulletproof action hero here. You're a professional, and that changes everything. The game leans heavily into realism, so you'll be clearing rooms, piecing together clues, and making split-second decisions that could shift the entire scenario. It's intense, but in the best way possible. Every corner could hide a potential threat, and every movement matters. Do you take the risk of moving in fast, or do you hang back and assess the situation? It's that constant balancing act that keeps you engaged. One thing you'll notice is how the game forces you to slow down and think. This isn't about spraying bullets and hoping for the best. It's about precision. You'll find yourself analyzing the environment, listening for subtle cues, and trying to outsmart whoever or whatever you're up against. It's the kind of gameplay that rewards patience and sharp instincts. What's really cool about UNRECORD is the attention to detail. It's not just about the action. It's about the tension. From the way you approach a scene to how you decide to engage, everything feels deliberate. You're not just playing a game, you're stepping into a situation, and that immersion is what makes it so unique. The realism, the intensity. It's like stepping into a whole new world. High on life, this is not your average shooter, not even close. The big hook here is the talking guns. They've got personality, sass, and opinions. They'll comment on everything you're doing, sometimes cheering you on, sometimes calling you out for being, let's say, less than stellar at aiming. It's like having a running commentary, but instead of a silent protagonist, your sidekicks are straight up roasting you or dropping the most bizarre one-liners. And the humor? Oh man, it's unapologetically ridiculous. This game was cooked up by the minds behind Rick and Morty, and it shows. You've got weird alien creatures, crazy scenarios, and a sense of humor that swings wildly between sharp satire and goofy chaos. Now, you might be wondering, does all that comedy get in the way of the gameplay? Not at all. At its core, High on Life is still a solid first-person shooter with smooth mechanics and satisfying gunplay. The weapons each have unique abilities that keep combat fresh and exciting. Whether you're bouncing around like a maniac or pulling off precise shots, the game gives you the tools to feel like you're doing something impressive, even when the dialogue insists on making you laugh about it. What makes High on Life stand out is how fully committed it is to being absurd. It's not just about shooting bad guys. It's about doing it in a way that makes you laugh so hard you almost forget you're actually fighting for something. You'll stumble into moments where you'll pause and think, wait, did that just happen? And yeah, it did. The game thrives on unpredictability. Lost in random. The whole vibe of the game feels like something out of a Tim Burton movie. Dark, whimsical, and a little eerie in the best way possible. You're in this world where everything's controlled by a roll of the dice, and it's such a cool concept. The story follows this girl, Even, on a mission to save her sister, and you're guided by this living, walking dice named Dicey. Honestly, Dicey is adorable. He doesn't talk, but his little expressions and movements totally give him personality. It's like you've got this quirky, loyal sidekick helping you through this bizarre, unpredictable world. The world itself is broken up into these 6 different realms, each one based on the different sides of a dice. And I love how each area has its own distinct theme. One place might be all about war, while another is more peaceful, but with its own creepy twist. The variety keeps you on your toes, because you never know what kind of weird characters or challenges you're going to run into next. What I also love is that there's a lot of exploration and discovery. You're always finding new paths or hidden areas, and the world feels like this big, twisted maze. It's not just about going from point A to point B. You're encouraged to explore and take your time. The whole world feels so handcrafted. Like every corner has something weird or interesting to find. I think what I appreciate most about Lost in Random is how creative it is. The dice rolling, the card-based combat, the strange world, it's also original. Ghost of a Tale. Imagine stepping into a world where you play as a little mouse named Tilo, a minstrel with a big heart and a knack for sneaking around. This is a game where charm and danger walk hand in hand, and it's absolutely magical. And speaking of being tiny, that's where the real fun begins. You're not some overpowered hero here. You're small, vulnerable, and, well, adorable. But don't let that fool you. Tilo's resourcefulness is what makes him stand out. The game is all about using your wits to outsmart enemies and navigate the world, and that sense of being the underdog makes every victory feel so much sweeter. The stealth mechanics are at the heart of the gameplay. As Tilo, you'll spend a lot of time sneaking past guards, hiding in barrels, and darting through shadows to avoid being spotted. It's tense, but never overly punishing. You're always encouraged to think creatively, whether that's distracting enemies with objects, learning their patrol routes, or even donning disguises to blend in. There's a real sense of satisfaction when you successfully slip past a heavily guarded area without getting caught. One of the coolest things about Ghost of a Tale is how much freedom you're given to explore. The game's world may not be massive, but it's packed with hidden paths, secret areas, and collectibles that reward curiosity. You're constantly encouraged to look around, experiment, and try new things. And that sense of discovery is one of the game's biggest joys. It's a game about sneaking, exploring, and solving problems. Squirrel with a gun. I know, the title alone is enough to make you chuckle. I mean, a squirrel with a gun? It's such a ridiculous concept, but that's exactly what makes it so fun. The game doesn't take itself seriously at all, and that's why I love it. You're literally a squirrel, running around with firearms, causing chaos in this open-world environment. From the moment you pick up your first weapon, you're like, wait, is this real? Am I actually doing this? And yes, you are. The way the squirrel moves and interacts with the world is hilarious. You can pick up a gun, and the recoil sends your tiny squirrel body flying all over the place. I found myself just shooting things to see how far I'd get launched. You'd think that would get old after a while, but it really doesn't. Every time I'd go airborne, it cracked me up. The game is just pure, chaotic fun, and it's all about experimenting with the mechanics. One of my favorite things to do was ambush the NPCs. The reactions are priceless. People just freak out, running away from this tiny squirrel holding a huge gun. It's like the game knows how absurd it is, and just leans into it. The missions are equally hilarious. You'll have objectives like stealing from humans, sabotaging things, and just causing general mayhem. There's even a storyline, which I didn't expect going in. It's light, and doesn't get in the way of the fun, but it gives you a little more structure if you want something to work toward. At its core, Squirrel with a Gun is all about chaos and laughs. You're not playing it for deep storytelling or complex mechanics. No rest for the wicked. It's not just a straightforward action game. There's this almost noir quality to it, a kind of slow burn suspense that keeps you hooked. You're dropped into this atmospheric world that feels both familiar and alien. You're always on alert, and it makes exploration feel like a tense but thrilling experience. The game has a combat system that feels tight, with a mix of melee and ranged options that keep things fresh. It's not just about button mashing. There's strategy involved, especially when you're dealing with multiple enemies or more powerful foes. You have to pick your battles, time your attacks, and sometimes just know when to run. It's intense, but not in a way that's overwhelming. It just makes every encounter feel meaningful. You're not just blowing through enemies. You're surviving each fight. And that survival element adds a layer of realism that's honestly refreshing. And the exploration? That's where the game really shines. It rewards you for being curious, for wandering off the beaten path, and it makes you feel like a detective in your own thriller. There are notes, clues, and environmental details that flesh out the story without hitting you over the head with it. You feel like you're discovering the story piece by piece, and each find just pulls you deeper into this twisted world. It's a game that doesn't hold your hand, which I love. You're left to figure things out on your own, which makes every discovery feel earned. The story, without giving away anything, dives into the darker side of human nature. Death in the Water 2. In this game, you're diving into the vast unknown, and trust me, the unknown doesn't stay unknown for long. The waters are teeming with life, some of it stunning, and some of it, well, let's just say it's better off left unseen. But seeing is part of the game, and so is fighting. You'll have to navigate through the murky depths, armed with your wits and whatever equipment you can get your hands on. What's unique about this game is how it blends exploration with danger. It's not just about floating around and admiring the underwater world. It's about constantly staying on edge. The ocean feels alive, like it's watching you, waiting for you to make one wrong move. It's all about balancing the thrill of discovery with the constant tension of what might be lurking just out of sight. Imagine trying to fend off a predator while underwater. Everything is slower, heavier, and more deliberate. It's not like battling on land. You have to adapt to the environment, anticipate your enemies, and keep your cool when things go south. And they will go south often, but that's what makes it so exciting. Every encounter feels like a fight for survival, and every victory feels hard-earned. The pacing of the game is something special too. You'll find yourself exploring serene, almost tranquil areas, only to have the peace shattered by something terrifying. It's like the game knows exactly when to ease you into a false sense of security and when to pull the rug out from under you. That unpredictability keeps you hooked. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. If you're into zombie games, you've got to try it, especially if you missed it back when it first came out. I remember playing the original Dead Rising and just getting sucked into the chaos. Now, with the remaster, everything looks cleaner. And it's a great excuse to dive back into that mall, slicing through hordes of zombies with the most ridiculous weapons. The first thing that hits you is how wild the game is. I mean, it's set in a mall. How perfect is that for a zombie apocalypse? You've got literally everything at your disposal to fight back. Want to smack zombies with a giant teddy bear? You can do that. Chainsaws, lawnmowers, guitars. It's like the game dares you to get creative with how you take these things down. I loved the way the game keeps you on your toes with the time mechanic. It's not like your typical open-world zombie game where you can just roam around forever. You're on a clock, and it adds a little pressure, which, weirdly enough, makes the whole experience more engaging. You've got this window of time to save survivors, investigate the outbreak, and deal with all the crazy psychopath bosses. But also you're like, wait, let me grab this chainsaw and see what happens first. It's this perfect mix of urgency and mayhem. The survivors are hilarious too. They can be such a pain sometimes, and it's always a toss-up whether they'll actually follow you without getting eaten. So yeah, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is such a fun throwback. If you're looking for a game that's chaotic, hilarious, and just lets you go wild in the middle of a zombie outbreak, this is it. ASTROMETICA. This game is all about diving into the vastness of space and making it your own. Imagine you're out there, exploring uncharted territories, gathering resources, and building bases to survive and thrive. It's a space exploration and base-building survival game that really puts your strategic thinking to the test. The gameplay focuses on exploration and resource management. You're not just wandering aimlessly, you're on a mission to gather essential materials that will help you build and expand your bases. The more you explore, the more resources you find, and the more complex and efficient your bases can become. It's a satisfying loop that keeps you engaged as you watch your efforts materialize into something substantial. Crafting is a big part of the experience. With the resources you collect, you can craft tools and discover new blueprints that open up even more possibilities. It's all about using advanced technology to your advantage, making sure you're well equipped to handle whatever the cosmos throws at you. The sense of progression here is tangible, as each new tool or blueprint feels like a step forward in your journey. One of the standout features is the base building aspect. You're not confined to a single location. You can establish bases across different planets and environments. Each setting presents its own challenges and opportunities, encouraging you to adapt and strategize accordingly. It's about creating safe havens in the vast unknown. The Lord of the Rings GOLLUM. The game takes you on a journey through Middle-earth like no other. The gameplay revolves around stealth and strategy. GOLLUM isn't a fighter, so the game leans heavily on outsmarting your foes. Whether it's sneaking past patrolling guards or using the environment to create distractions, every move feels deliberate and tense. The challenge lies in reading the situation, plotting your approach, and knowing when to act, or when to retreat into the shadows. The climbing mechanics are a standout feature, emphasizing Gollum's agility and resourcefulness. Scaling cliffs, jumping between precarious ledges, and finding hidden paths make traversal feel engaging. The verticality of the environments invites exploration, rewarding you with a sense of accomplishment when you uncover a clever route or navigate a particularly tricky section. The moral choice system adds a layer of complexity that feels perfectly tailored to Gollum. His internal conflict is more than a story element. It's woven into the gameplay itself. As you progress, decisions will reflect the tug-of-war between his two sides. It's not just about good or evil, it's about survival versus compassion, selfishness versus cooperation. Every choice feels weighty because it's tied directly to who Gollum is as a character. Gollum offers a unique perspective on Middle-earth, and its quirks make it worth the investment. It occasionally goes on sale, and when it does, the discounts can be substantial enough to make you feel like you found your own precious. Shattered, Tale of the Forgotten King. This one really stands out in how it combines exploration, combat, and a touch of mystery to keep you hooked. You're encouraged to move at your own pace, taking the time to uncover secrets and figure out the best way to approach challenges. The game feels like it respects your curiosity, rewarding you for paying attention and diving into its world headfirst. Combat is another big highlight. It's got this deliberate, skill-focused style that keeps you on your toes. Every fight feels like a puzzle you're solving in real time. Do you go in aggressively, or do you wait for the perfect moment to counter? Timing is everything, and the way the game pushes you to master its mechanics makes every victory feel hard-earned and incredibly satisfying. What really sets Shattered apart is the mix of gameplay styles. It's not just a combat game, and it's not just about exploration. It's a blend of both, and the way it switches things up keeps the experience fresh. You might spend time carefully navigating a tricky area, only to suddenly find yourself in a high-stakes battle. It's that variety that keeps you constantly engaged. Now, one of the coolest aspects of Shattered is how it invites you to experiment and adapt. The game doesn't hold your hand. It gives you the tools and lets you figure things out. There's a real sense of freedom in how you approach challenges, whether it's using your abilities in clever ways or taking a different route to avoid trouble altogether. That feeling of discovery is one of the game's biggest strengths. The Outlast Trials, a game that flips the script on horror and turns fear into a team sport. Well, sort of. If you've ever wondered what it'd feel like to be trapped in a psychological nightmare with a bunch of your friends or complete strangers, this game has you covered. It's horror, but with a twist that makes it stand out in a genre already packed with great games. Imagine being thrown into a terrifying, twisted experiment, where survival isn't just about running for your life. It's about strategy, cooperation, and sometimes even betrayal. Set during the Cold War era, you're a test subject for the sinister Murkoff Corporation, and let's just say they're not exactly known for their ethical practices. Your job? Survive their trials while keeping your sanity intact. Easy, right? Not even close. The first thing that makes this game special is the co-op aspect. Yes, you can play it solo, but let's face it, trying to survive this nightmare with other players adds a layer of chaos and unpredictability that's impossible to replicate on your own. Picture this. You're sneaking through a dark hallway, your heart pounding, when suddenly your teammate screams and starts sprinting. Do you run? Do you stay put and hope whatever scared them doesn't notice you? Every moment is a gamble, and it keeps you on your toes the entire time. What's cool is how the Outlast Trials encourages teamwork without forcing it. You can choose to stick together for safety, dividing tasks, and helping each other out. Or you can be that person who looks out for number one, leaving everyone else to deal with the consequences. Until Dawn Remake. What makes Until Dawn so unique is that you're the one guiding the story. Every choice you make, every little decision, has a real impact on what happens to these characters. And in this remake, those intense moments feel even more vivid and polished. One of my favorite things about Until Dawn is how it feels like you're in a horror movie, but you're the one calling the shots. You're constantly making these choices, sometimes tiny, sometimes huge, and they all add up in ways you don't expect. It's the kind of game where you second-guess every choice, wondering if you did the right thing or just doomed someone. The remake brings even more of that suspense, and the character movements and expressions feel way more lifelike, so you're fully sucked into every tense moment. The characters are all really fleshed out too. Each one has their own quirks, personalities, and flaws, and you can actually feel the chemistry between them. It's like hanging out with a group of friends who have a shared past, and sometimes you have to decide who you want to trust or protect. The writing and performances feel even sharper here, making you care about these characters and root for them, while at the same time, you're totally nervous for them. The Until Dawn remake is one of those games that'll keep you glued to the screen. It's not just about surviving the night, it's about making choices you can stand by, or maybe ones you regret later. It's intense, thrilling, and incredibly satisfying, and it'll definitely keep you coming back for more. Observer System Redux. This is the kind of game that doesn't just ask for your attention, it demands it. Observer System Redux thrives on creating a mood, one that's heavy with tension, intrigue, and a sense of something lurking just beneath the surface. It's not a game that rushes you. Instead, it encourages you to slow down and really be in its world. At its core, this is a detective experience with a twist. You're not just solving mysteries. You're diving headfirst into the depths of people's minds. Literally. The mechanics are as inventive as they are immersive, putting you in a position where the tools you're given are integral to the way you approach every scenario. Scanning environments, analyzing clues, and piecing things together never feels like a chore. It's less about following a checklist, and more about genuinely engaging with the space around you. The augmentation system is a standout. It gives you this tactile sense of being more than human, but not in a superhero way. Instead, it leans into the idea of enhancement as a tool, one that you're constantly learning to wield effectively. Whether it's using your tech vision to pick up on details others would miss, or engaging with biofeedback to read the remnants of a crime scene, every aspect of your abilities feels purposeful. Interactions in Observer System Redux are deliberate. Conversations, inspections, and even the act of moving through the environment carry weight. It's a game that respects your curiosity. Gravity Rush 2. The game takes the idea of movement and freedom to a whole new level, giving you the power to defy physics and explore sprawling, beautifully designed cities that practically beg to be flown through. The gravity-shifting mechanic is the beating heart of everything. It's not just a gimmick, it's the foundation for how you interact with the world. Whether you're gliding through the air, scaling buildings from any angle, or dropping into combat with a devastating gravity kick, the sense of control and creativity it offers is endless. Mastering the mechanics is part of the fun, and every time you pull off a flawless maneuver or discover a new use for your powers, it feels incredibly satisfying. Exploration is a dream come true, thanks to how seamlessly the gravity mechanics blend with the massive world. Each area feels alive, full of nooks and crannies to uncover, hidden treasures to collect, and quirky characters to meet. The verticality of the environments is breathtaking, and the ability to literally fly between floating islands, rooftops, and hidden corners adds a layer of discovery that keeps you engaged. Every moment feels like an opportunity to try something new, or see things from a different perspective. Combat in Gravity Rush 2 is all about using your powers in creative and explosive ways. Your gravity kick is your bread and butter, but as you progress, you unlock new fighting styles that completely change how you approach battles. KRISTALA, you're stepping into the paws of a badass anthropomorphic cat who's about to embark on a dangerous and magical journey. From the moment you start, you get to choose your own clan, each with its own unique attributes and abilities. It's not just a cosmetic choice. It actually impacts your gameplay. Whether you're going for a brute force melee build, a precise ranged approach, or leaning into magic, the game makes sure your playstyle feels personal and tailored. The customization here isn't overwhelming, but gives you enough freedom to feel like you're crafting a character that's entirely your own. Combat in KRISTALA is where the game really shines. It's got that familiar, deliberate style where timing, positioning, and strategy are key. But what sets it apart is the way it blends agility with raw power. You're not just charging into battle. You're weaving in and out of enemy attacks, chaining combos, and using your environment to gain the upper hand. And don't get me started on the magic system. It's not just there as a backup option. It's woven into the gameplay in a way that feels essential and rewarding. What's really cool about KRISTALA is how much it rewards exploration. This isn't the kind of game where you stick to the beaten path and call it a day. You're going to want to poke around every corner, investigate every ruin, and dive headfirst into the unknown. There's this constant feeling that something incredible is just waiting to be discovered, whether it's a new ability, a hidden challenge, or just some fascinating bit of lore that deepens your connection to the world. Ad Infinitum. It's a psychological horror game that takes you to some pretty dark places, but in a way that's absolutely fascinating. What's unique about Ad Infinitum is that it doesn't just rely on jump scares or cheap thrills. This game builds tension in a slow burn way that feels like it's crawling under your skin. Every corner you turn, every door you open, there's this constant feeling that something is lurking. The game really makes you feel like you're not alone, like the walls themselves are watching you. It's a level of immersion that's honestly hard to pull off, but Ad Infinitum nails it. Set against the backdrop of World War I, the game dives into some pretty intense themes, and it does so with a lot of respect and depth. It's not just about spooky monsters or things that go bump in the night. It's about the horrors of war and the toll it takes on the mind. The protagonist, a soldier haunted by his past, has these surreal and nightmarish visions, and you're right there with him, trying to make sense of what's real and what's not. And let me tell you, there's something deeply unsettling about a horror game that's rooted in real historical trauma. It makes the fear feel so much more personal. Just when you think you've got a handle on what's going on, the game throws you a curveball. You'll be exploring, thinking you're safe, and suddenly you're face to face with something that makes your heart skip a beat. It's not predictable, and that unpredictability keeps you glued to the screen. The Talos Principle 2. First off, if you played the first game, you'll know the vibe. If you didn't, no worries, you can jump right into this one without missing a beat, though playing the first one is absolutely worth it. The Talos Principle 2 takes everything the original did so well. Mind-bending puzzles, stunning environments, and thought-provoking storytelling, and cranks it up a notch. The puzzles are the star of the show here, and let me tell you, they're the perfect mix of I'm a genius, and why is my brain a potato? You'll be moving laser beams, toggling switches, and manipulating time in ways that make you feel like some kind of futuristic architect. And the best part? The game gives you the tools and the space to figure things out. There's no hand-holding, but it's never unfair. It's just you, your wits, and the occasional aha moment that feels like you just unlocked the secrets of the universe. But the puzzles aren't just puzzles. They're part of a bigger picture. This game is packed with layers, both in its gameplay and its story. As you wander through its breathtaking environments, and they are breathtaking, you start to piece together this intricate narrative about humanity, artificial intelligence, and what it means to be alive. It's deep, but in a way that sneaks up on you. Speaking of the world, let's just take a moment to appreciate how beautiful it is. The visuals in the Talos Principle 2 are stunning. There's this blend of ancient ruins, futuristic tech, and nature reclaiming everything that makes every area feel like a painting. GTFO, a game that doesn't just ask you to work as a team. It demands it, like your survival depends on it. Spoiler, it totally does. This is a hardcore co-op shooter that throws you and 3 friends, or brave strangers, into the most intense underground nightmare you can imagine. And it's all about thinking on your feet, communicating, and staying calm when things inevitably go sideways. Imagine being dropped into a labyrinth of claustrophobic corridors, where every corner hides danger, and every decision feels like life or death. Your goal is simple: complete objectives, and make it out alive. Simple, sure, but not easy. The game thrives on tension, keeping you constantly on edge as you strategize, sneak, and fight your way through environments that seem to want you dead. But let's be real. The heart of this game is the teamwork. You're not just playing alongside your squad, you're relying on them. Every mission demands coordination. Who's carrying the gear? Who's got the sentry turret? Who's watching the rear? And when it comes time to deal with the horrifying enemies lurking in the dark, communication is key. You can't just run in guns blazing unless you want a swift and brutal end. Stealth, precision, and timing are your best friends. And when things get loud, because they will, you'd better have a plan. The game gives you an arsenal to play with, but it's not just about picking your favorite weapon and calling it a day. You've got to think strategically. Every tool, from motion sensors to deployable turrets, has a purpose. Slitterhead. What makes Slitterhead special is its gameplay. This isn't your typical run and gun, or even your average survival horror. It's a clever mix of combat, exploration, and tension. The controls feel smooth and intuitive, which is critical when you're navigating situations that can flip from calm to chaos in a second. Every button press feels purposeful, and that's what you want in a game like this. No fumbling around when things heat up. Combat is where things really shine. There's a great sense of flow to the mechanics, where timing and strategy matter just as much as quick reflexes. It's not about mindlessly swinging or shooting your way through. It's about thinking on your feet. The variety of tools and techniques at your disposal keeps every encounter fresh and exciting. You'll find yourself experimenting with different approaches, trying to figure out the most effective or sometimes the most stylish way to handle things. And let me tell you, the challenge is just right. It's not punishing to the point of frustration, but it's also not handing out victories on a silver platter. There's this constant push and pull where you feel tested but never overwhelmed. That balance is key, especially in a game that thrives on keeping you on edge. Another standout feature is how the game encourages exploration. It's not just about running from point A to point B. It's about really looking around and taking everything in. There are so many little details to discover, whether it's hidden gameplay mechanics, Trek to Yomi, a game that takes you on a samurai journey like no other. You're stepping into the sandals of a samurai, navigating a world filled with challenges, duels, and a deep sense of purpose. It's not just about the combat, though that's a huge part of it. It's also about exploration and how you immerse yourself in this journey. The game balances action with a sense of calm, giving you moments to breathe before diving into another intense encounter. The combat is sharp, literally and figuratively. Every swing of your sword is precise, and the game really rewards you for mastering the art of timing and positioning. It's not about mashing buttons or rushing in. It's about reading your opponent, anticipating their moves, and delivering that perfect counterstrike. When you land a clean hit, it feels incredible, like you've truly earned it. But it's not just about fighting. Trek to Yomi has these moments where you'll find yourself taking in the world around you, noticing the smaller details, and appreciating the balance between the chaos of battle and the tranquility of the journey. Whether you're navigating through a quiet village or facing off against a new foe, there's always something to keep you on your toes. It's not just about flashy moves or endless enemies. It's about discipline, focus, and respecting the craft of the warrior. Everything you do, from exploring to fighting, feels intentional and grounded in that philosophy. Artistic is the best way to describe Trek to Yomi. ASTERIGOS. The game is about exploration and mastery. You'll find yourself navigating the sprawling city of Aphis, a place steeped in mystery and packed with secrets. The world here feels alive, like every corner you turn and every path you take is pulling you deeper into its lore. You'll encounter towering enemies, solve environmental puzzles, and uncover treasures that make every detour feel worth it. The combat is where the game truly shines. It's not just about swinging weapons and dodging attacks. It's about adapting. The game hands you a variety of weapons, each with its own unique playstyle, and lets you mix and match to suit how you want to take on challenges. Whether you prefer the precision of a spear, the raw power of a hammer, or the agility of dual blades, the options are there, and they all feel satisfying to master. What's really cool is how ASTERIGOS keeps you engaged with its challenges. The enemies here aren't pushovers. They demand your attention and reward patience and skill. Boss fights, in particular, are these epic encounters that feel equal parts puzzle and test of reflexes. One of the best things about ASTERIGOS is how it lets you carve your own path. It's not a linear experience, but it's not overwhelming either. You'll find yourself going off the beaten track to discover hidden areas. And each of those moments feels like a personal victory. The game balances that sense of freedom with just enough guidance to keep you from feeling lost. What really sets ASTERIGOS apart, though, is the way it embraces mythology and weaves it into every part of the game. Dungeons and Dragons: Dark Alliance. This game is a pure adrenaline rush for anyone who's ready to dive into the dark, monster-infested world of Icewind Dale. It's all about teamwork, action-packed combat, and hacking your way through swarms of enemies. If you're looking for a game where you get to swing a massive axe, shoot arrows, or cast spells to take down the forces of evil, this one has got you covered. The gameplay is a high-energy blend of fast combat and strategic team play. You can choose to play as one of 4 iconic characters, each with their own unique fighting style and abilities. Whether you're up close and personal with a brutal barbarian, delivering long-range damage as a ranger, or slicing through enemies as a rogue, each character feels distinct and fun to control. The action flows smoothly, making each battle feel intense and satisfying as you hack, slash, and dodge through hordes of enemies. What makes Dark Alliance stand out is the emphasis on cooperative play. The game is built for team action, so whether you're teaming up with friends or jumping into an online game, there's something special about coordinating with your squad. You can cover each other's weaknesses, pull off killer combos, and help each other out when things get a little too hectic. It's that classic D&D fantasy vibe of working together as a team to overcome challenges, only with the added thrill of smashing through enemies with wild abandon. Replaced. Straight off the bat, Replaced stands out by immersing you in a world that feels meticulously crafted yet raw in its execution. The game captures an essence that merges futuristic grit with a retro aesthetic, pulling you into a universe where every frame feels like it's telling a silent tale. The gameplay itself is where Replaced truly flexes its strengths. It doesn't waste time trying to overcomplicate things, instead opting for smooth, polished mechanics that make every moment feel intentional. The controls are responsive, and each action flows with a precision that feels incredibly satisfying. Combat, in particular, is fluid and dynamic, with a focus on timing and precision. It isn't about overwhelming enemies with brute force, but more about understanding the rhythm of encounters and reacting with finesse. Exploration is where the magic quietly unfolds. Every environment feels alive with a distinct personality. There's a tangible sense of place as you traverse through the game, uncovering layers of its world in a way that feels natural rather than forced. It's all about immersing yourself and soaking in what the game offers in terms of setting and gameplay without holding your hand too tightly. Combat feels intentionally designed to offer a mix of challenge and creativity. Enemies aren't mindless. They have patterns and behaviors that demand attention. It's not just about winning fights, but doing so in ways that feel uniquely your own. Whether you're going for a calculated approach or something more fast-paced, Friday the 13th is pure adrenaline-fueled chaos, wrapped in a thrilling multiplayer experience that keeps every match unpredictable and wildly entertaining. Whether you're playing as a counselor trying to escape, or as Jason Voorhees hunting everyone down, there's a unique tension and excitement to every session. The game's core is its asymmetrical gameplay. Playing as a counselor means banding together with others, or going solo to survive. You can search for tools, repair vehicles, or try to call for help, all while knowing Jason is somewhere out there, watching and waiting. The constant pressure of balancing your objectives while staying hidden keeps things engaging. Every match is different, with the environment, your teammates, and even Jason himself creating unique scenarios every time. Playing as Jason flips the script entirely. You become the relentless hunter, equipped with an array of tools and powers designed to track down and eliminate the counselors. The way Jason's abilities are designed gives you an eerie sense of control, whether you're setting traps, sensing where players might be hiding, or simply stalking your prey. There's an undeniable thrill in taking on the role of the unstoppable force in the game. The maps are large, detailed, and packed with opportunities for creative gameplay. Cabins, woods, lakes, and hidden paths all serve as a playground for both survival and pursuit. As a counselor, the environment is your ally and your enemy. Chorus. From the moment you boot it up, you're hit with this stunning universe full of swirling nebulae, glowing space stations, and massive starships that make you feel tiny in the best way. You play as Nara, a starfighter pilot with a mysterious past, and your ship, Forsaken, is your partner in crime, or redemption, depending on how you look at it. The dogfighting is where Chorus shines. It's not just about shooting lasers at enemy ships, although you'll do plenty of that, and it feels amazing. It's about speed, precision, and pulling off these crazy, physics-defying moves that make you feel like an absolute ace. There's this one move where you can drift in space, spinning your ship around to take out enemies while still zipping forward, and every time I pulled it off, I felt like the coolest person alive. The controls are tight and intuitive, but they also make you work for it. You're not going to master the advanced maneuvers right away, and that's part of the fun. There's this awesome sense of progression as you get better and start chaining moves together in combat. By the time you really hit your stride, you're taking on waves of enemies like a one-person fleet, and it's so satisfying. Another thing I love about Chorus is how it gives you a sense of freedom. The game isn't open world in the traditional sense, but there are these beautifully designed areas you can explore between missions. Whether it's helping out stranded civilians, uncovering secrets, or just flying around to soak in the scenery, there's always something to do. Sons of the Forest. If you're into survival games with an edge, this game takes that experience and dials it up in all the best ways. Right off the bat, it's intense. You crash land on this eerie, sprawling island, and it's clear from the get-go that you're not exactly alone, but there's a thrill to it that keeps you totally hooked. The game doesn't just drop you into a survival scenario. It throws you into a living, breathing ecosystem with some truly jaw-dropping realism. You feel like you're out there, battling against nature, and some other things we won't spoil. But I'll just say, the sense of isolation combined with danger is palpable. One thing I really love here is how the game rewards curiosity. You can choose your own pace, either charging ahead to explore, or taking things slowly to craft and build up your defenses. And man, the crafting system is deep. You'll be making everything from simple shelters to advanced traps, all while keeping an eye out for resources. It's this blend of strategy and suspense that keeps you on your toes the entire time. What's different from the usual survival experience is how it feels so grounded. Even simple things like setting up a campfire or catching fish feel like real-life survival tasks. You're not just managing hunger and thirst, you're adapting to the environment and learning its rhythms. And speaking of the island, this place is gorgeous in a haunting way. It's full of these dark, atmospheric forests and mysterious caves that call you to explore. Another crab's treasure. If you've ever wanted to experience the thrill of a Souls-like game, but also wished it involved a crab wielding trash as armor, well, you're in for a treat. You play as Krill, a crab who's on a mission to recover his stolen shell. Simple, right? Well, not quite. The underwater world is vast, vibrant, and packed with enemies and obstacles that will test your skills at every turn. Krill may be small, but he's scrappy, and that's what makes him such a lovable protagonist. Another crab's treasure takes the idea of Souls-like combat and makes it accessible without losing the tension and strategy that fans of the genre love. Every fight is a dance. You'll need to dodge, block, and time your attacks carefully to come out on top. But what makes the combat so unique is Krill's ability to pick up discarded junk and use it as makeshift armor. Found a tin can? That's your shell now. How about an old teacup? Yep, that works too. Each piece of armor comes with its own perks and drawbacks, so experimenting with different setups is half the fun. What's great about this system is how it ties into the game's larger theme. Beneath the humor and silliness, there's a subtle commentary on environmentalism and resourcefulness. The ocean is littered with human waste, and Krill's ability to turn trash into treasure feels like a playful nudge toward taking better care of our planet. But don't let the lighthearted tone fool you. Another crab's treasure still packs a punch in the gameplay department. THYMESIA. If you've ever played action RPGs that thrive on precise, skill-based gameplay, you'll feel right at home. The combat in THYMESIA is all about speed, timing, and strategy. It's fast, fluid, and incredibly satisfying when you get the hang of it. You'll need to dodge, parry, and strike with precision, because the enemies here don't mess around. But don't worry, THYMESIA gives you some pretty awesome tools to fight back. One of the coolest things about the combat is the plague weapon system. Essentially, you can steal and wield the special abilities of your enemies. How cool is that? It's like turning their own power against them, and it adds a whole new layer of strategy. You can customize your playstyle by collecting and upgrading these plague weapons, so whether you want to focus on raw damage, ranged attacks, or something more tactical, the game lets you experiment. What's great is that THYMESIA doesn't waste your time. It's a tight, streamlined experience that respects the player. There's no endless grinding or filler. Every moment feels purposeful, whether you're fighting enemies, exploring eerie locations, or upgrading your abilities. It's one of those games where you feel like you're constantly progressing, which keeps things engaging from start to finish. The bosses in this game deserve a special mention. They're tough, sure, but they're also super creative. Each one feels like a puzzle you have to solve. not just in how you fight them, but in how you approach the encounter. They're challenging, but not in a frustrating way. Judgment. It's a detective game with a personality. You're not just running around brawling or chasing down leads, you're living the life of a private eye, piecing together clues, tailing suspects, and uncovering secrets that the streets of Kamurocho are trying to keep buried. The way the game combines investigative gameplay with moments of pure action is what makes it so engaging. The combat system is fast, fluid, and downright satisfying. Yagami's fighting style is dynamic and flashy, giving you the tools to handle street thugs, rival gangs, and anyone else who gets in your way. Whether you're pulling off acrobatic moves or using whatever you can find in the environment as a weapon, the fights never get old. It's all about style, impact, and knowing when to adapt to the situation. The city itself feels alive, bustling with activity, and packed with things to do. Kamurocho isn't just a backdrop, it's an active part of the experience. From quirky side cases to random encounters, every corner of this city offers something that adds to the adventure. Stopping to help someone with a strange request or diving into a completely unexpected scenario is just part of the charm. The detective mechanics bring a refreshing change of pace. You're using your intuition, observation skills, and gadgets to crack cases and get to the bottom of things, tailing someone through the busy streets, finding hidden evidence. Rise of the Ronin. If you've ever wanted to step into the shoes of a samurai in a world at the crossroads of history, then this game is going to blow your mind. Right away, you're thrown into 19th century Japan, an era filled with massive change, where tradition and modernization are colliding. It's like being part of a living, breathing history lesson, only with swords, epic battles, and this incredible atmosphere that just pulls you in. The combat is where it truly shines. It's got that classic samurai swordplay feel, but there's a modern twist too. It's all about timing, precision, and making every strike count. When you're in the heat of battle, you feel this rush of intensity. But what's even cooler is that you also have firearms at your disposal, which brings this unique balance between traditional and new. So you're not just relying on your katana. You're adapting and making use of everything around you. Plus, if you're into exploration, there's so much to find. There are side quests and hidden details that flesh out the world, rewarding you for going off the main path and just taking your time. It's the kind of game that encourages you to slow down, appreciate the world, and really immerse yourself in the experience. Beyond the battles, Rise gives you these powerful story moments that make you feel connected to the people and the history of the era. You're not just a fighter, you're a part of the world's story, shaping events as they unfold. The choices you make feel impactful, and there's this sense of weight to each decision. EREBAN Shadow Legacy. The game takes this idea of stealth and shadow, and it just runs with it in such a cool, unique way. Imagine yourself as Ayana, this rogue with insane shadow powers, sneaking through levels, slipping past enemies like a total shadow ninja. It's incredibly satisfying. One of the things I love about EREBAN is the shadow mechanic. You're not just hiding in shadows, you're literally merging into them. You can teleport between shadows, dip in and out of sight, and completely confuse the guards. It gives the game this almost puzzle-like quality, where you're thinking a few moves ahead, plotting how to get past every guard and turret. It feels fresh, like a mix of stealth with something almost magical. One of my favorite things is how the game gives you so many options. You can go full stealth, never even alerting an enemy, or get a little more aggressive if you want to. Personally, I tried to go for no detection runs, and let me tell you, it's not easy, but it's so rewarding when you pull it off. Every encounter feels like a little challenge, and it pushes you to really think about your approach. And I have to say, the level design is pretty spot on. Each area feels like a little sandbox, giving you multiple paths and ways to tackle the objective. You can go high, stay low, or just dance between shadows. It's like every level is daring you to be creative. And when you nail a section without getting caught, it's just this amazing little adrenaline rush. It's also just a fun game to pick up if you love experimenting with stealth tactics. Immortals FENYX Rising. This game is a breath of fresh air, full of mythical charm and a sense of adventure that's hard to resist. It's all about diving into a vibrant world, inspired by Greek mythology. You take on the role of FENYX, a customizable hero with a knack for exploring, battling, and solving puzzles. The gameplay is an addictive blend of exploration, combat, and clever challenges. Traversing the world feels incredibly dynamic, thanks to FENYX's abilities. You're not just walking from place to place, you're soaring through the skies, scaling epic cliffs, and riding your trusty mount across breathtaking terrains. Combat is where the game really shines. Whether you're taking on mythological beasts like harpies and cyclops, or clearing out groups of smaller enemies, there's always a sense of power and creativity in how you approach fights. The mix of light and heavy attacks, dodges, and special abilities keeps the combat fast-paced and rewarding. Puzzles are scattered throughout the world, and they're as much a part of the adventure as the combat. From unlocking treasures to completing elaborate challenges in vaults, each puzzle feels thoughtfully designed. They push you to use FENYX's skills in creative ways, whether it's manipulating objects, shooting precise arrows, or solving environmental riddles. These moments break up the action and give the game a nice balance. Immortals, FENYX Rising is a love letter to mythology wrapped in an action-packed, puzzle-solving open-world package. HOMEFRONT, The Revolution, a game that takes the idea of guerrilla warfare and turns it into a gritty, on-the-ground fight for survival and freedom. If you've ever wondered what it'd feel like to be part of a scrappy resistance fighting against a high-tech, oppressive force, this game throws you right into the thick of it. The premise is simple. You're fighting to take back control, one block at a time, in a city that feels alive and under constant threat. You're not some heavily armored super soldier here. You're scrapping together resources, improvising weapons, and rallying people to your cause. The gameplay has this great balance of tactical planning and high-stakes action. A lot of it revolves around taking back zones controlled by the enemy, but it's not as straightforward as just running in with guns blazing. You'll need to scope out areas, figure out patrol patterns, and decide whether you're going in loud or keeping things stealthy. And honestly, both approaches have their own kind of thrill. But the game doesn't just throw you into missions and leave it at that. It creates a world where you feel the tension of an occupied city. The streets aren't just set dressing. They're filled with danger and opportunity. You might run into a patrol one moment, then find a hidden stash or a group of allies the next. It keeps you on your toes and makes every trip through the city feel like an adventure. Another cool thing, the emphasis on getting the people behind you. You're not just fighting for your survival. You're inspiring others to rise up. It's like building a movement from the ground up. Generation Zero. Set in an alternate 1980s Sweden, the game creates a unique atmosphere where you're up against something much bigger than yourself, a world overrun by mysterious, hostile machines. The heart of Generation Zero lies in its survival mechanics and its open-world exploration. You're not handed everything on a silver platter. You've got to scavenge for weapons, ammo, and supplies while navigating a landscape that's both beautiful and eerily quiet. This isn't just about survival, though. It's about figuring out how to outsmart enemies that are relentless, unpredictable, and seriously intimidating. Combat is strategic and always keeps you on your toes. The machines you face aren't your typical enemies. They're tough, intelligent, and each one has its own unique behaviors. Some are massive, lumbering tanks of destruction, while others are smaller, faster, and just as deadly. Stealth plays a big role in the gameplay, and it's incredibly satisfying to outmaneuver a patrol of machines or set up the perfect ambush. Using the environment to your advantage is key, whether it's sneaking through dense forests or using buildings as cover. Exploration is where Generation Zero really shines. The world is filled with clues, abandoned homes, and pieces of a puzzle that hint at what's happened. There's a real sense of mystery as you wander through empty towns, eerie farmlands, and sprawling forests. You'll find notes, items, and other bits of information. The Forgotten City. This is a game that thrives on intrigue, curiosity, and the thrill of solving a mystery. The Forgotten City pulls you into a world where everything you do matters, and every action could change the course of events. It's all about exploring a tightly woven environment packed with secrets, choices, and consequences. The heart of the gameplay lies in unraveling a puzzle built around a unique concept, the Golden Rule. This is the backbone of the entire experience, setting up an immersive web of interactions where your decisions carry weight. The game challenges you to think critically, pay attention to every detail, and figure out how to navigate a situation where one wrong move can spiral into chaos. You're not just running around aimlessly. Every corner, every character, and every piece of dialogue offers a clue or a thread to follow. The NPCs are where things get really interesting. Each one feels like they have their own lives, motives, and personalities, and it's your job to piece together what's going on by talking to them, observing their behavior, and sometimes making tough calls about who to trust. Time plays a huge role in the Forgotten City. It's not just a linear experience. It's designed to loop in a way that gives you room to experiment and refine your strategy. If something doesn't go as planned, you can try again, armed with new information and insights. This mechanic keeps the game fresh and encourages you to think creatively about how to approach challenges. Predator Hunting Grounds. Whether you're stalking prey as the predator or working as a team to complete objectives and survive as a fire team, the game creates a dynamic that feels electric and unpredictable at every turn. Playing as the predator is an absolute adrenaline rush. It's all about strategy, patience, and striking at just the right moment. The predator isn't just a character. It's a living, breathing arsenal of high-tech weapons and deadly skills. From the iconic cloaking ability to the devastating plasma caster, every tool feels powerful and satisfying. Navigating the treetops, scanning for targets, and planning the perfect ambush is the kind of experience that keeps you constantly on edge in the best way possible. The fireteam side flips the script entirely, turning the game into a tactical survival mission. You and your squad have objectives to complete, but the looming threat of the predator makes every move feel critical. Communication and teamwork are key, and there's always that underlying sense of dread, knowing the predator is watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The missions are varied enough to keep things fresh, and balancing your focus between the objectives and staying alive is a challenge that feels rewarding when you get it right. The game's tension is its secret weapon. Whether you're the predator or part of the fire team, there's a constant push and pull of control. One moment you might feel like you've got the upper hand, only for the tables to turn in a split second. It's unpredictable in the best way. Orcs Must Die 3. This game is all about creatively defending your territory against wave after wave of orcs in the most chaotic and satisfying ways imaginable. It's a tower defense game at its core, but with a heavy dose of action, humor, and absolute mayhem. You're not just placing traps and watching things happen, you're right in the middle of the action, making every choice count. The traps are the real stars here. There's an impressive arsenal of them, ranging from classic spike traps to more absurd contraptions that turn the battlefield into a death maze. Each one feels distinct, and the real fun is in figuring out how to combine them for maximum destruction. It's like building a puzzle where the solution is total carnage. The variety keeps things fresh, and the game constantly tempts you to experiment with new setups. The combat system complements the traps beautifully. You're not just a passive observer. You're actively participating, wielding weapons and abilities to thin the horde while your traps handle the rest. The game does a great job of balancing the roles, making you feel both strategic and directly impactful. Whether you're blasting orcs with a crossbow or charging into the fray with a melee weapon, there's never a dull moment. The war scenarios are a standout feature in this entry. These larger-scale battles feel massive, with hundreds of orcs charging at once. The scale and intensity add a new dimension to the gameplay, pushing you to think bigger with your strategies. Beyond Good and Evil 2. If you've ever wanted to dive into a massive open world, explore diverse planets, and live out your own space adventure, this game gives you all of that and more. Set in a vast, interconnected universe, the game puts you in the shoes of a customizable character who starts with nothing but a dream to climb through the ranks. And just like any great adventure, you get to decide how you make your mark, whether it's through combat, diplomacy, or exploration. One of the coolest things about Beyond Good and Evil 2 is how much freedom it gives you. Want to take control of a spaceship and venture into space? Feel like diving into a planet's surface and getting your hands dirty with some ground missions? That's all you. The game lets you seamlessly switch between flying across galaxies and landing on planets to deal with missions, giving you a solid mix of space and ground action. And it doesn't stop there. The game is all about customization. You get to create a character that's as unique as you want it to be. Build your character's abilities, skills, and look to fit your playstyle. The game lets you team up with friends in a shared universe where your choices impact everyone. It's not just about you and your story. It's about how you interact with a living, breathing world, where every action you take can affect the bigger picture. The dynamic story is also a big part of what makes the game stand out. There's always a sense that your choices matter. Ancestors, the Humankind Odyssey. This game is unlike anything else, putting you right in the middle of an evolutionary journey that feels both ambitious and personal. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, adapting, and shaping the future of your species in a world that's as beautiful as it is brutal. At its core, this game is all about discovery. You start as an early primate, navigating a lush, prehistoric world full of danger and mystery. The game doesn't hold your hand. It encourages you to experiment, make mistakes, and learn from them. It's a constant cycle of trial and error, where every small success feels monumental. Figuring out how to use tools, finding food, or even recognizing threats becomes part of the thrill. Exploration is a huge part of the experience. The world is vast, filled with dense jungles, towering cliffs, and hidden caves waiting to be uncovered. There's a sense of wonder in venturing into the unknown, but there's also an ever-present tension. Predators lurk, and the environment itself can be unforgiving. It's all about balancing curiosity with caution, and knowing when to push forward or retreat. The progression system is fascinating. As you explore and experiment, your clan evolves, unlocking new abilities and skills that make survival a bit easier, or at least less terrifying. It's not just about your individual character. It's about the group as a whole. You're building a legacy, ensuring that future generations are better equipped to handle the challenges. The Quarry. Now, this is one of those games that really nails that interactive horror movie vibe. If you're a fan of games like Until Dawn, you'll feel right at home with this one. It's got all the classic horror tropes, teens stuck in the woods, creepy atmosphere, and a ton of choices that can make or break the story. What I immediately loved about The Quarry is how cinematic it feels. It's like you're watching a 90s slasher flick, but you get to control what happens. The graphics are top-notch, and the character models look almost lifelike. Sometimes I'd forget I was playing a game because it feels like you're directing your own horror movie. The voice acting is also solid, with a great cast, including some familiar faces like David Arquette. I think that adds to the charm because you feel like you're watching a real cast play out this insane story. And let me tell you, the story can go in wild directions depending on your choices. Every decision you make matters, from dialogue options to how you handle certain situations. Are you going to be the hero and save everyone? Or is your character going to make a dumb horror movie mistake and end up dead? It's totally up to you. The branching narrative is a big part of the fun because it keeps you guessing, and you can play it multiple times to see how different choices play out. One of the coolest parts about The Quarry is the setting. It's this rundown summer camp in the woods, and the way the game builds tension is masterful. At first, everything seems normal, maybe a little too quiet, but as night falls, things start getting weird. Chivalry 2, it's one of those games that makes you feel like you're living out an epic battle scene from a medieval movie. Swords, shields, battle cries, it's all here. The first time I jumped in, I honestly didn't know what to expect. But within minutes, I was charging across a battlefield, screaming alongside other players, and it was just wild. The game really nails that feeling of being right in the middle of an all-out medieval brawl. And yeah, you might end up accidentally smacking a teammate. It happens. But that's just part of the chaos. What's cool is how each match has objectives, so it's not just a mindless hack and slash. You're pushing through enemy lines, defending castles, burning down villages. Each round feels like this mini-story playing out, where you really feel like you're fighting for your team. Sometimes it's about brute force, and other times it's about using strategy. Whether you're sneaking around to flank the enemy or holding the line with your teammates. Plus, there are different classes to mess around with. If you're feeling like a tank, go for a knight with heavy armor and a big ol' shield. Want to be a sneaky archer who snipes from a distance? There's a class for that too. Each one brings a different flavor to the battle, and it's fun to mix things up and see what you like best. Personally, I love being the guy in the heavy armor with a huge hammer, just charging through crowds. And the best part? It never takes itself too seriously. You can tell the game is all about having a good time. It's chaotic, but in the best possible way, where every match feels like a blend of serious combat and just plain ridiculousness. SpongeBob SquarePants, Battle for Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. This game is pure, unfiltered fun, wrapped in a bubbly package of nostalgia and creativity. It's all about stepping into the shoes of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy as you bounce, karate chop, and belly flop your way through the zany world of Bikini Bottom. This isn't just any platformer. It's a game that captures the quirky charm of SpongeBob's universe in a way that feels larger than life. The gameplay revolves around exploring colorful, chaotic levels, packed with challenges, collectibles, and plenty of underwater humor. Each character brings their own unique abilities to the mix. SpongeBob's bubble skills, Patrick's strength, and Sandy's lasso add variety to how you approach puzzles and enemies. Switching between them keeps things fresh, letting you tackle obstacles in ways that feel perfectly tailored to their personalities. Combat is simple, but satisfying. It's all about timing your moves, using each character's special abilities, and figuring out the best way to deal with a variety of goofy enemies. Whether you're smashing robots, avoiding jellyfish, or solving puzzles, there's always something to keep you engaged. The balance between action, platforming, and exploration makes every level feel like its own underwater adventure. The world design is brimming with personality. From jellyfish fields to Goo Lagoon, each area feels like an episode of the show come to life. Lost Records bloom and rage. It's a game about friendship, memory, and figuring out how the past never really lets go. The twist is, you're not just playing through one timeline, but two. One moment you're in the 90s, hanging out with the characters when they're teenagers, and the next, you're with them as adults in 2022, dealing with the fallout of whatever happened back in the day. You'll get to explore Velvet Cove, this small town where everything seems to have happened. The cool part is you're not just walking around casually. Every corner has something to uncover. The game puts a big emphasis on choices. So what you do and say as the player really affects how things unfold. And that's where the camcorder comes in. It's not just a neat little 90s prop. It's a crucial part of the experience. You get to record things, replay moments, and even discover things that might have slipped under the radar the first time around. It adds a layer of mystery and fun, keeping you engaged in piecing everything together. There's a lot of personality in the game's characters too. These are people with real flaws, and you're going to feel that connection as you play. It's not just about solving a mystery. It's about understanding the people involved and seeing how they've changed over time. The camcorder lets you dive deeper into their lives, and with every click, you get a new perspective on them and their past. It's like stepping into their shoes and seeing the world through their eyes. ROBOQUEST. If you're a fan of fast-paced action, explosive gameplay, and robots, lots and lots of robots, this game is going to steal your heart. It's one of those games that doesn't take itself too seriously, but delivers an experience so polished and addictive. So, what is ROBOQUEST all about? Well, it's a roguelite first-person shooter that's all about blasting your way through waves of enemies while exploring vibrant, ever-changing levels. But it's not just your average run and gun. Oh no, this game has style. The art direction is this fantastic mix of cel-shaded visuals and neon-soaked sci-fi goodness that makes every explosion and every laser beam feel extra satisfying. Right from the get-go, the game grabs you with its high-energy vibe. You're thrown into these sprawling, colorful levels filled with robots ready to take you down. And the pace? It's lightning fast. You'll be jumping, sliding, dodging, and shooting all at once. It's chaotic in the best possible way, and the game encourages you to keep moving. The weapons in ROBOQUEST are a highlight. There's an insane variety of them, from traditional blasters and rifles to some truly wacky, over-the-top creations. And the roguelite aspect of the game really shines here. Every time you jump into a new run, the levels, enemies, and loot are randomized. This means no two runs are the same, keeping the gameplay fresh and exciting. Sure, you're going to fail a few times, that's part of the fun, but every failure comes with progress. Fist, forged in Shadow Torch. A game that proves you don't need to reinvent the wheel to make something awesome. You just need a mechanical arm the size of a small car. This is a 2.5D Metroidvania where you play as Rayton, a rabbit. Yes, a rabbit. But not just any rabbit, a grizzled, badass one with a massive mechanical fist. If that doesn't hook you right away, I don't know what will. What's special about Fist is how seamlessly it pulls you into its industrial diesel punk world. This isn't just a map you run around in. It's a labyrinth full of interconnected zones, shortcuts, and secrets waiting to be uncovered. Every area feels deliberate, like it's daring you to push deeper, explore every corner, and maybe, just maybe, find that one hidden pathway that connects everything in a way you didn't expect. You've got this giant mechanical fist as your main weapon, but as you progress, you unlock other tools, each with its own unique playstyle. Whether it's launching enemies into the air or pulling off ground-pounding moves, every fight feels dynamic. The game constantly encourages you to experiment and master your arsenal, which makes combat feel fresh even hours in. Exploration is another highlight. You'll run into areas that seem just out of reach, and then later you'll unlock an ability or a gadget that makes you go, "Oh, that's how I get there." It's this constant loop of discovery and reward that keeps you hooked. The world feels alive, almost like it's testing your curiosity, and trust me, it's worth poking around every nook and cranny. Visage. Imagine being trapped in this old, sprawling house. It's not haunted in the traditional sense. It's something much worse. This place feels alive, like it's been soaking in decades of tragedy and despair, and it's decided that you're its next target. You're not running from a monster or battling demons here. Instead, you're dealing with the house itself. And trust me, it's got a lot of issues. The house isn't just a setting. It's a character, and it's got layers. Every creak, every flickering light, every shadow in the corner feels deliberate, like the house is playing mind games with you. It's unpredictable, and that unpredictability is where the real tension comes from. The game is all about exploration. You're moving through the house, room by room, piecing together clues, and figuring out how to survive its relentless psychological attacks. There are no weapons here, no big guns to save you. You're armed with nothing but your wits and a fragile sanity meter that's constantly working against you. And let me tell you, the sanity system in Visage is genius. It's not just a bar on your HUD, it's a living, breathing part of the experience. Stay in the dark for too long, your sanity starts to slip. Hear something unsettling in the distance, it slips even more. And when it gets too low, the house, well, let's just say it reacts. The way the game ties your mental state to the horrors around you is seamless and absolutely terrifying. What's cool about Visage is how it forces you to be hyper-aware of everything. Black Panther War for Wakanda. Playing as Black Panther feels amazing. The combat is fluid, fast, and makes you feel like a total powerhouse. Whether you're slashing through enemies with those vibranium claws or gracefully dodging attacks like the agile king you are, every move feels precise and satisfying. It's not just button mashing either. There's strategy involved. One thing I really appreciated is how accessible this game is. Whether you're a diehard Marvel fan who knows every line from the comics or just someone who loved the movie, the game welcomes you in. It respects the legacy of Black Panther while also being fun and approachable for newcomers. It's one of those rare games where you can feel the passion and care that went into every detail. One of my favorite moments in the game, just roaming around Wakanda. It's not just a backdrop, it's a character in itself. The world feels alive, from the bustling marketplaces to the sacred mountain paths. There are little details everywhere that make it feel like a lived-in, breathing place. It's a reminder of what you're fighting for, and why Wakanda is worth protecting. And let's not forget about the villains. Oh, they're good. The kind of good where you love to hate them. They're menacing, they're challenging, and they push you to be at your best as Black Panther. Every encounter feels like a test of your skills and your resolve, which makes taking them down all the more satisfying. It's exciting, heartfelt, and just plain fun. Remember Me. Picture a world where memories can be digitized, traded, sold, and even rewritten. Yes, rewritten. It's a setting that feels futuristic but also scarily plausible. And you get to explore this fascinating concept firsthand. You play as Nilin, a memory hunter with some seriously cool skills, like the ability to remix memories. Yes, you can dive into someone's mind, tweak their recollections, and change how they perceive reality. It's an incredibly clever mechanic that makes you feel like you're not just playing a game, but actively unraveling the fabric of someone's life. Combat in Remember Me is another highlight. It's not just about button mashing your way through enemies. It's all about rhythm, timing, and customization. The game features something called the Combo Lab, where you can create and tweak your own combos. Imagine being able to craft your fighting style to fit the situation, whether you need to deal maximum damage or regain some health in the heat of battle. It makes you feel like a true artist of combat, chaining together moves with a precision that's as satisfying as it is effective. This game has some of the most fluid and satisfying movement mechanics around. You'll find yourself scaling walls, leaping across rooftops, and navigating tight spaces in a way that feels intuitive and natural. Super Mario Odyssey, a game that feels like pure joy packed into a digital adventure. This isn't just another Mario game. It's a celebration of everything that makes Mario an icon, while also bringing fresh ideas that make it feel totally unique. The concept of Super Mario Odyssey is genius. You're not just hopping and bopping through levels anymore. You're exploring vast, open playgrounds full of surprises, secrets, and opportunities to experiment. Each kingdom feels like its own mini-world with completely different vibes, challenges, and quirky characters to meet. It's not about racing to the end of a level. It's about soaking in everything these places have to offer. Cappy, your magical hat companion, changes everything. This little guy isn't just there to look cool. He's the cornerstone of the game's creativity. You can toss him to attack enemies, interact with the environment, or, here's the real kicker, take control of certain objects and creatures. The capture mechanic is brilliant, opening up so many new ways to play. The movement in this game is on another level. Mario has always been about tight controls, but Odyssey takes it up a notch. You can pull off all sorts of acrobatics, stringing together moves in a way that feels fluid and rewarding. Every jump, dive, and flip feels satisfying, and there's this sense of freedom to tackle challenges however you want. The sheer variety in Odyssey is mind-blowing. No two kingdoms feel the same, and the game is constantly throwing new mechanics and ideas at you. Deliver Us the Moon. It's a narrative-driven sci-fi thriller that's all about saving humanity. The Earth is in trouble, resources are gone, and humanity is on the brink. So, naturally, what do? We look to the stars, and in this case, the moon. You're tasked with uncovering the mystery of a lunar base that's gone dark and figuring out what happened to a mission that was supposed to save the planet. Sounds simple, right? But let me tell you, it's anything but. You'll be fixing systems, figuring out how to progress through different areas, and piecing together what happened. It's more about problem solving than combat. And honestly, that's refreshing. Not every game needs to have an explosion every 5 minutes to keep you hooked. One thing I love is how interactive everything feels. You're not just running through corridors or pressing buttons at random. You're actually operating machinery, aligning satellites, and repairing systems in ways that feel grounded and realistic. It's immersive, and it keeps you engaged from start to finish. The game also does an amazing job of making you feel the stakes. Sure, it's set in space, but the issues it tackles, climate change, resource depletion, and humanity's survival, feel incredibly relevant. It's not just a game about saving the moon or even saving humanity. It's about making you think about how we got to this point and what we can do to prevent it. Another great thing? It's not overly long. You can experience the entire journey in a handful of hours, which means it doesn't overstay its welcome. Game of Thrones King's Road. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones and love video games, this one is definitely worth checking out. Imagine getting to dive right into Westeros, exploring the lands, and stepping into the shoes of a character who's navigating all the chaos and drama the realm has to offer. You get to make choices, go on quests, and interact with some of the most iconic figures from the show. No spoilers here, but trust me when I say you'll be hooked on what this game offers. You're going to start off choosing one of 3 cool character classes. First up, we've got the Knight. Heavy armor, sword in hand, and ready to take on whatever enemies are thrown your way. If you're more of the sneaky type, the Assassin is the perfect fit. You'll be slinking through shadows, doing high damage attacks when no one's looking. And if you prefer a bit of a mix, the Sellsword is your guy, focusing on quick, ranged attacks that give you the upper hand from a distance. The class choice is pretty important because it'll shape how you approach everything from combat to exploration. The world itself is massive, and you can explore a bunch of regions. We're talking everything from the icy chill of the Wall to the tense atmosphere of King's Landing. Each area offers something unique, and there's always something to do. Whether it's helping out with some noble's issue or just exploring, there's never a dull moment. One of the best things about the game is the combat. The system is smooth, intuitive, and feels right for each class. Aliens Fireteam Elite. If you're a fan of the Aliens franchise, or even just into fast-paced multiplayer shooters, this game is such a ride. Cold Iron Studios really captured the whole being stuck in a xenomorph nightmare feeling. The second that motion tracker starts beeping, with those little blips getting closer, it's like an instant panic button. It really nails that alien's tension, but in a fun, adrenaline-packed way. The multiplayer is honestly where this game shines. Whether you're rolling with friends or hopping in with randoms, the teamwork is key. And when the xenomorphs come flooding in from every angle, walls, ceilings, vents, it's pure chaos. But in a good way. Every firefight is intense, and it feels so satisfying when you survive a wave with your team by your side. I had a blast trying out the different classes. At first, I was all about the gunner, just laying down fire. But once I switched to the technician and started dropping turrets, it was game-changing. Each class has its own strengths, and when everyone's working together, it's like this perfect mix of strategy and mayhem. The levels are awesome too. You're moving through these dark industrial corridors, alien hives, and abandoned stations. It feels just like stepping into the aliens' universe. And while the xenomorphs are the main threat, they throw in some surprises, like synthetic enemies, which keeps things interesting and adds some variety to the combat. The progression system kept me hooked too. Deep Rock Galactic. It's one of those games that's just pure fun from the moment you jump in. You play as these badass space dwarves, mining for resources on this crazy alien planet. And everything about it is chaotic in the best way possible. One of the first things that hit me was how satisfying it feels to dig and blow stuff up. The mining mechanics are on point. You've got this massive, destructible environment, and you can just tear through it with your drills, pickaxes, and explosives. It's super cathartic, especially after a long day. Nothing beats blowing up a cave full of minerals or making your own path to a hidden spot. The team-based aspect is where it really shines, though. It's all about cooperation. You and up to 3 friends each play different classes, like the gunner, scout, driller, or engineer, and everyone's got their own role to play. I usually go with the engineer because, let's be real, setting up turrets and zip lines for the squad is too fun, but it's cool how every class feels useful no matter what. It's like the game encourages everyone to contribute to the mission in their own way. Speaking of missions, they can get crazy. You're deep in these alien caves, surrounded by bugs, and things can go from, we got this, to, oh god, we're screwed in a matter of seconds. You're mining for minerals one minute, and the next, you're fighting off hordes of giant alien spiders. It's that balance of calm exploration and total chaos that keeps it exciting. I also love how the game doesn't take itself too seriously. The Expanse, a Telltale series. This one is for anyone who's into deep space, tough decisions, and a little bit of mystery. The game is set in the world of The Expanse, and if you're already a fan of the series, you're in for a real treat. You get to step into the boots of Kamina Drummer, who's an awesome character from the show, and navigate your way through the intense, high-stakes life aboard a scavenger ship in the asteroid belt. The gameplay is all about making decisions that impact not just the story, but the relationships between you and your crew. And trust me, you'll want to pay attention to every conversation and action, because the choices are big and have consequences. This game is a lot like the other Telltale titles you might know. Lots of dialogue, quick decisions, and that deep emotional storytelling. But The Expanse brings in some cool twists. Zero-gravity environments are a huge part of the experience, so you're not just walking around like you would in any other game. You're floating, using mag boots, and having to adjust to movement that feels more like you're actually in space, which is honestly a great touch. It's not just about talking to characters and choosing what to say. It's about navigating these intense, disorienting situations where every action feels a little more dangerous and impactful. One of the best parts of the game is how your choices shape everything. It's not just about picking what you think sounds good in the moment. You'll be making decisions that seriously affect how things play out for the crew. Ready or not. It's one of those tactical shooters that really makes you rethink how you approach each mission. It's not your typical run-and-gun shooter. This game demands patience, strategy, and precision. It's intense, and every decision counts. Whether you're clearing a room or deciding how to breach a door, you're in charge of a SWAT team. And you're not just there to rack up kills. You're there to resolve situations as tactically and cleanly as possible. The AI in Ready or Not is no joke either. Enemies don't just mindlessly rush you. They react to your moves. Some will surrender. Some will try to ambush you. And others will flat out surprise you with how they maneuver. It makes every encounter feel unpredictable. And that's where the game really shines. You have to read the room, use your tools, like flashbangs or mirror cams, and adapt to whatever's thrown at you. One thing I love about the game is how it encourages you to think like a real SWAT team leader. It's not just about rushing in and shooting the bad guys. You're constantly making calls about how to de-escalate situations, when to use force, and how to protect civilians. There's a moral weight to it, which makes it stand out from other shooters. Sometimes, you'll be in a standoff where you're yelling at suspects to drop their weapons, and it's this tense standoff that really makes your heart race. Not every situation can be solved with bullets, and the game forces you to make those tough calls. The game isn't afraid to slow things down. A lot of modern shooters are all about speed, but here, taking your time is rewarded. Hood, Outlaws and Legends. This game brings a thrilling twist to the classic Robin Hood-inspired tale. It's a multiplayer experience where you assemble a team of outlaws to pull off daring heists while competing against another team and avoiding AI-controlled guards. It's all about strategy, teamwork, and the sweet satisfaction of outsmarting your opponents. The gameplay revolves around choosing your character and role within the team. Each outlaw has their own unique abilities and playstyle, whether it's sneaking in the shadows, taking down enemies from a distance, or smashing through obstacles with brute force. These characters aren't just reskins of generic roles. They each feel tailored to their own strengths and quirks, making the team dynamics all the more exciting. Stealth is a huge part of the game. The world is crawling with guards, and slipping past them unnoticed is half the battle. Whether you're hiding in tall grass, blending into the crowd, or timing your movements just right, every step feels tense and calculated. But stealth isn't just about avoiding detection. It's about creating opportunities for your team to succeed. A well-executed distraction or a quiet takedown can make all the difference. The heist itself is where the game truly shines. You and your team must locate and steal a heavily guarded treasure chest, while the rival team is trying to do the same. It's a constant game of cat and mouse, with both teams scrambling to stay ahead of each other while dodging the AI-controlled guards. Layers of fear. You know, if you're into psychological horror, this is one of those games that really stands out. I played it recently, and honestly, it's less about the typical jump scares and more about this creeping, unsettling tension that builds as you go through it. The atmosphere? It's pretty insane. Like, every room you enter feels like it's alive, and not in a good way. You'll be walking down a hallway, thinking everything's fine, and then the whole place shifts. It messes with your head in the best way possible. What I really appreciate is how it leans into the idea of being more of an interactive art piece than a traditional horror game. The whole thing centers around an artist, so the world you explore is very surreal. It's like the environment itself is having a mental breakdown along with you. And the way the story unfolds, it's subtle. You're not spoon-fed anything, so there's a lot of piecing things together, which I kind of loved. It's not the longest game, but that works to its advantage. It never overstays its welcome. You go through it at a good pace, and there are no filler moments. Every part of it feels intentional, which is refreshing. It's also one of those experiences where, when you finish, you kind of want to talk about it. Not just because you want to discuss the story, but because it feels like something you experienced, you know? It's immersive in that way. If I had to describe it, I'd say Layers of Fear is less about making you jump out of your seat and more about getting under your skin. It's the type of game that has this slow burn creepiness that builds over time. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. A game that takes everything we love about Star Wars, adds that signature Lego charm, and cranks it up to light speed. This isn't just your typical Lego smash and collect formula, though yes, there's still a ton of smashing and collecting, and let's be honest, it's super satisfying. What's cool here is the variety. One moment, you're solving puzzles and figuring out clever ways to progress, and the next, you're dogfighting in space or wielding a lightsaber in a duel. It's this constant mix of gameplay that keeps things exciting. The character roster is absolutely massive. You want to play as Luke, Leia, or Darth Vader, obviously. But how about a background droid you barely remember from one scene? Yep, they're here too. The sheer amount of characters and the ways you can use them makes exploring the galaxy so much fun. And speaking of the galaxy, the open-world exploration is such a treat. Each planet feels like its own little Lego playground, packed with secrets, side quests, and things to build or destroy. Whether you're zipping around Tatooine, wandering the forests of Endor, or navigating the icy landscapes of Hoth, there's always something to discover. And the thing is, you don't just play through the main events. There's a ton of side stuff that makes it feel like you're exploring the galaxy on your terms, spending your hard-earned cash on a game that lets you hop from Tatooine to Endor while breaking things into Lego bricks along the way. Totally worth it. Necromunda Hired Gun. This is a high-octane dive into the gritty, brutal, and chaotic world of Warhammer 40,000's Necromunda. It's a fast-paced, first-person shooter that lets you step into the shoes of a bounty hunter for hire, navigating the underbelly of a hive city where everything is dangerous, and survival is earned, not given. The game oozes personality, from its wild arsenal to its unapologetically dark setting. The gameplay is all about speed, precision, and destruction. Movement feels fluid and dynamic, encouraging you to run, jump, wall climb, and zipline across industrial wastelands and gang-infested corridors. It's not just about aiming and shooting. It's about doing so while staying in constant motion, using your environment to your advantage. Every encounter feels like a deadly dance, where one wrong step could turn the tide against you. The weapons are an absolute blast, and the arsenal is as diverse as it is destructive. Shotguns that obliterate enemies at close range, sniper rifles for picking off targets from a distance, and over-the-top energy weapons that scream Warhammer. Each weapon feels powerful and satisfying, and upgrading them adds another layer of customization that lets you tailor your loadout to fit your playstyle. The firepower isn't just fun, it's essential when dealing with the sheer variety of enemies the game throws at you. Combat in Necromunda Hired Gun is frenetic and rewarding. It's not just about mowing down waves of enemies. Connection, The Nightmare Within, a game that feels like stepping into someone else's fragmented thoughts and unraveling their darkest fears. You're dropped into this eerie, surreal environment, and your task is to piece together what's happening. What makes this game stand out is how it plays with perception. Walls shift, spaces bend, and what you think you know can change in an instant. It's like being inside a dream that doesn't follow the rules of logic, and every twist keeps you guessing. But here's the thing, it's not confusing for the sake of being confusing. Everything has a purpose, and discovering how it all fits together is incredibly satisfying. The gameplay itself strikes a balance between tense exploration and moments of reflection. It's not a high-octane thriller where you're constantly on edge, but it keeps you alert with subtle tension that builds and builds. You'll find yourself examining your surroundings, uncovering hidden clues, and solving puzzles that feel deeply connected to the game's overall theme. These aren't just find-the-key puzzles. They're layered, thoughtful, and tied directly to the world you're navigating. One of the coolest aspects of Connection is how it taps into emotions and psychology. It's not just trying to scare you or surprise you, it's trying to make you feel. There's this sense of vulnerability as you explore, almost like you're peeling back layers of someone's mind. And yet, the game also empowers you, giving you the tools to face whatever lies ahead. Mass Effect Andromeda. When this game launched, it got a ton of hate. And a lot of it had to do with the infamous facial animations. I mean, people were making memes about the character's weird robotic expressions within hours of release. It was hard not to laugh, but at the same time, it took away from what the game was trying to do. On top of that, there were bugs. A lot of bugs. Some people felt the world was a bit empty compared to the richness of the original trilogy, and that really disappointed hardcore fans of the series. You know, expectations were sky high coming off the original Mass Effect trilogy, which is beloved for its deep story, memorable characters, and complex choices. Andromeda had a tough act to follow, and when it didn't hit the same highs, fans let their disappointment show. But here's the thing. If you step back and give Andromeda a fair shot, there's actually a lot to like. It's got this huge open-world feel with new planets to explore, and a brand new galaxy to discover. The combat is actually one of the highlights, really fluid and fun. If you liked the action in the original games, but wanted more flexibility, Andromeda definitely delivers on that front. Plus, the exploration aspect is pretty cool. Driving around in the Nomad, checking out alien worlds, and slowly unraveling the mysteries of the Andromeda galaxy can be really immersive. It may not have hit the emotional highs of the earlier games, but it's not without its charm. It's also worth noting that BioWare fixed a lot of the early issues with patches. Kong Survival Instinct, a game that lets you step into the massive, earth-shaking footsteps of one of the most iconic creatures in pop culture. This is a game that makes you feel like Kong. It's all about raw power, primal instincts, and the thrill of survival, all rolled into one epic experience. The core of the game is exactly what you'd expect from the title: survival. But don't think for a second, it's as simple as smashing things and moving on. Sure, there's plenty of smashing. It's Kong, after all, but there's a real strategy to how you approach every challenge. You're not just a giant ape stomping around. You're a living, breathing force of nature, trying to maintain balance in a world that's constantly testing you. Combat is where this game truly roars. The fights are huge, like literally massive. Every encounter feels like a cinematic showdown where you have to rely on more than just brute strength. Timing, positioning, and knowing when to go all out or when to retreat can make the difference between victory and becoming someone else's dinner. And let me tell you, landing a perfectly timed counterattack as Kong, it's the kind of moment that makes you want to stand up and beat your chest, though maybe don't if you're in public. Exploration is another big part of the game. You're not just confined to one small area. You've got a vast, dangerous world to navigate. And it's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's about understanding your environment and figuring out how to use it to your advantage. Returnal. So the first thing you need to know about Returnal is that it's a roguelike, which means you're going to die. A lot. And that's okay because every death is a chance to learn, improve, and push just a little bit further. The game drops you into this eerie, alien world where everything is trying to kill you. And I do mean everything. But instead of being frustrating, it's exciting. Each time you come back, the world changes, the environments shift, the enemies move differently, and you're left wondering what's around the next corner. It's addictive in the best way. The combat is fast, fluid, and incredibly satisfying. You've got all these crazy weapons and gadgets at your disposal, and each one feels unique. Whether you're zipping around, dodging neon bullet storms, or pulling off a perfect shot midair, it feels like you're in a sci-fi action movie. It's chaotic, but in a way that makes you feel totally in control. Like, yeah, the odds are stacked against you, but you've got the skills to survive. The level design is so well done that even when you're running through the same areas multiple times, it never gets boring. You'll stumble upon ruins, weird alien tech, and these hauntingly quiet moments that make you stop and just look. There's this constant sense of, what happened here, that drives you to explore deeper. And this game is tough. It's not going to hold your hand or let you off easy. But when you finally overcome a challenging boss or make it further than you ever have before, it's the best feeling in the world. Necropolis. The core idea of Necropolis is simple: survive. But simple doesn't mean easy. The game throws you into a procedurally generated dungeon filled with all kinds of dangers. Every step you take feels like a gamble. There's always the potential for treasure, traps, or something that wants to take you down. The thrill is in the unknown, and trust me, Necropolis has plenty of that. Combat here is not just about spamming attacks and hoping for the best. It's tactical, deliberate, and requires you to pay attention. Enemies don't just line up and wait for their turn. They're aggressive, unpredictable, and sometimes downright tricky. You'll need to learn their patterns, adapt your strategies, and use your resources wisely if you want to make it past even the first few floors. It's all about finding that perfect rhythm between offense, defense, and knowing when to retreat. Loot is another big part of Necropolis. And who doesn't love loot? Whether it's weapons, gear, or those little items that can completely change how you approach a fight, there's always something to keep you on the hunt. The game loves to reward curiosity, so if you're the type who likes to explore every nook and cranny, you're in for a good time. Just be prepared for the occasional nasty surprise, because this game loves to remind you that nothing comes easy. One thing Necropolis absolutely nails is the feeling of progression. Every run, no matter how short or chaotic, feels like a learning experience. You'll figure out better ways to approach combat, smarter ways to manage your resources, and maybe even some tricks to deal with the dungeon's many hazards. Call of the Sea. If you're in the mood for something a little different, something vibrant, mysterious, and dripping with heart, this game should be on your radar. It's not about high-octane action or gritty battles. Nope. This is a game that invites you to slow down, soak in the scenery, and get lost in a beautifully crafted story. The premise of Call of the Sea is pretty simple, yet totally intriguing. You play as Nora, a woman searching for her missing husband on a strange, uncharted island. But here's the twist. This island isn't just any island. It's bursting with mystery and an air of otherworldly magic. From the moment you arrive, you know you're in for something special. As you delve deeper, you'll encounter ruins, puzzles, and little details that hint at something much bigger and a bit stranger than you might expect. And let me tell you, the puzzles in this game are so satisfying. They're challenging enough to make you think, but never so frustrating that you feel stuck for hours. It's the kind of game that rewards you for paying attention to your surroundings. Every little detail, an engraving on a rock, a piece of paper tucked away in a corner, could be the key to solving the next puzzle. And when you do figure it out, it's such a rewarding moment. What I really love about Call of the Sea is how unique it feels. It's not trying to be a blockbuster game or follow any trends. Instead, it carves out its own little niche as a thoughtful, beautiful, and emotionally resonant adventure. It's a game that reminds you why you love exploring new worlds. Pummel Party. This is the ultimate mix of friendship, chaos, and straight-up mayhem. Pummel Party throws you and your crew into a board game-style battleground where every turn is an opportunity to outsmart, sabotage, or just outright obliterate your opponents. It's a game where alliances are temporary, betrayals are inevitable, and no one is safe from the chaos. The game starts with a board that looks innocent enough, but don't let that fool you. Every space you land on has the potential to change the game completely, whether it's gifting you some much-needed health or throwing you into a situation that will have everyone laughing or screaming. The dice rolls dictate your path, but it's your choices and your timing that can turn the tide in your favor. What sets Pummel Party apart is the arsenal of absolutely ridiculous weapons and tools at your disposal. Whether it's a boxing glove that can knock someone halfway across the board, or a beehive swarm that hunts down your friends, every item feels over the top and perfectly designed to ruin someone's day in the best way possible. You're not just rolling dice. You're plotting how to use these weapons to climb to the top or drag everyone else down with you. The minigames are the heart and soul of Pummel Party. After each turn, you dive into a competition that could be anything from dodging obstacles to collecting items or just beating each other up. These minigames are fast-paced, chaotic, and often wildly unpredictable. Saints Row. This isn't the kind of experience where you sit back and take things too seriously. No, this is all about diving headfirst into a chaotic playground where the rules are made to be broken, bent, or outright ignored. The first thing you'll notice is how much freedom you have. It's not just a game about completing missions. It's about how you do it. Do you go in with an arsenal of creative tools, causing as much mayhem as possible? Or do you try something completely off the wall just because you can? The game doesn't judge. It celebrates whatever ridiculous choices you make, and that's the beauty of it. Customization in Saints Row is a joy in itself. Whether it's your character, your vehicles, or even your weaponry, the game gives you the tools to express yourself in the most outrageous ways possible. Want to rock a look that screams chaos? Go for it. Need a ride that looks like it belongs in another dimension? You can do that too. The sky's the limit, and the game encourages you to embrace your wildest ideas. The gameplay is all about variety. One moment you're in a high-speed chase that feels like an action movie on steroids, and the next you're doing something so over the top that you'll have to pause just to laugh at the sheer absurdity. And the missions, they don't hold back. Each one feels like a new, overblown adventure designed to surprise you at every turn. Combat is where the game flexes its creativity. Sure, you've got your standard tools of destruction, but then there's everything else. Escape the Backrooms, a game that takes the internet's infamous urban legend and turns it into an unnervingly immersive survival experience. If you've ever heard about the Backrooms, those endless, yellow-tinted, eerily familiar yet disturbingly off-putting liminal spaces, then you already know this game is not messing around. At its core, Escape the Backrooms isn't just about wandering aimlessly through a strange environment. It's about working together, staying alert, and figuring out how to escape the madness. Every level is like its own twisted puzzle box, with new mechanics and challenges that force you to adapt and think on your feet. This isn't a game that holds your hand either. You're thrown in and expected to figure out the rules as you go. And trust me, the rules, they aren't always in your favor. What makes this game so unique is its unpredictability. Just when you think you've got the hang of it, the backrooms throw something completely unexpected your way. One minute, you're carefully creeping through a corridor, and the next, you're scrambling to avoid something you'd really rather not get a closer look at. The tension is constant, but it's also what makes the game so thrilling. The cooperative aspect is a huge highlight here. If you play with friends, escape the backrooms becomes a whole new beast. You'll be strategizing, shouting directions, and sometimes panicking together as you try to navigate the labyrinthine levels. What's particularly clever about this game is how it uses its environment to mess with your head. Gothic 1 Remake. This is a game that pulls you straight into a gritty and harsh world where every choice feels like it matters, and survival is earned through careful exploration and understanding the rules of the land. It's all about navigating a brutal environment where danger is a constant companion, and alliances can shape your journey. The setting is layered and alive, with a focus on immersion that draws you into its unforgiving world. Every part of the environment feels handcrafted, whether it's the dangerous wilderness, the imposing camps, or the secretive corners waiting to be uncovered. It's not just a map to traverse, but a world to conquer, one step at a time. Combat is a key part of the experience, built on timing, strategy, and progression. The game doesn't hand you power on a silver platter. It makes you earn it through persistence and practice. Fights are engaging because they reward preparation and clever tactics over brute force, making every victory feel like a real accomplishment. Character interaction is a standout feature. The people you meet aren't just static NPCs. They have roles, motivations, and their own way of dealing with the challenges of the world. Conversations and decisions open up opportunities, alliances, or conflicts, and it's all tied into how you choose to navigate the social dynamics of this rugged environment. Exploration is where the game shines. It encourages you to look beyond the obvious, venturing into areas that might seem too dangerous at first. The reward for curiosity. Vampire. It's one of those titles where you go in expecting a typical vampire action game, but it turns out to be so much deeper than that. It's got this dark, moody atmosphere that just pulls you in right from the start. You play as Dr. Jonathan Reed, this dude who's a respected doctor, but also just became a vampire. So, right off the bat, you're hit with this major moral conflict. He's a healer, but now he's cursed with this bloodlust. It's such a cool dynamic because you're constantly torn between doing what's right and giving in to your vampire instincts. I don't know about you, but I loved the tension that creates in the gameplay. Every time you meet someone, you're like, do I help them or do I eat them? That's one of the most interesting parts of the game, the choice to feed or not. The more you feed on people, the stronger you get, but it comes with some serious consequences. The game doesn't just let you be a monster without repercussions. If you kill too many civilians, whole districts can fall into chaos, and you end up ruining your own world. But then again, if you don't feed, you're weaker, and the game becomes more challenging. I remember thinking, man, do I really want to sacrifice this person for a quick power boost? It really makes you consider every move. The combat is actually pretty fun too. It's got that hack and slash feel, but with some cool vampire powers thrown in. It's got that perfect mix of action, storytelling, and moral dilemmas that keep you hooked. Plus, who doesn't want to live out their vampire fantasy, right? Shadow of the Colossus. It's like one of those rare experiences that just sticks with you long after you're done playing. The whole concept is so simple, but so powerful. You're just this guy trying to save someone you love. And the only way to do it is by taking down these massive colossi. There's no filler, no random enemies, no side quest. It's just you, your horse, and these gigantic creatures scattered across this lonely, mysterious land. And honestly, that simplicity is what makes it so impactful. Every fight feels epic, and the quiet moments between each battle just hit different. The colossi themselves are incredible. Each one feels like a puzzle in its own right. It's not just about slashing away at some big monster. You've got to figure out how to climb them, where their weak points are, and how to use the environment to your advantage. I remember the first time I saw one of those things. It's just so big. You feel so small and insignificant. And then when you finally manage to climb up and take it down, it's such an intense feeling. But at the same time, there's this weird sadness that comes with it, like you're not sure if what you're doing is really the right thing. I also love how the story is told in such a subtle way. There's not a lot of dialogue or cutscenes, but the emotions are all there. You can just feel Wander's desperation and determination, even though he barely says a word. And as the game progresses, you start to notice the toll that killing these colossi is taking on him. It's not just a straightforward hero's journey. There's a price to pay. Deathloop. It's one of those games that hooks you in so effortlessly, it's like the game itself knows exactly what you're craving as a player. Imagine this. You're Colt, waking up on a weird, wild island called Black Reef. You're stuck in this insane time loop that resets every day, so whatever happens, whether you mess up, get taken out, or succeed at something, it's all getting reset. Groundhog Day style. At first, I'll admit I thought, oh man, a time loop? This might get repetitive. But Deathloop manages to pull it off brilliantly. The loop mechanic is far from a gimmick. It's the core of the entire experience, and the game handles it so well that it becomes this awesome, almost addictive puzzle you really want to solve. So, the big goal is to break the loop. And to do that, you have to take down 8 targets, called Visionaries, all in one single day. The twist? They're scattered all over Black Reef, and each one has their own unique routine and stronghold. It's a bit like a murder mystery, where you are both the detective and the hitman. And here's where it gets cool. The game encourages you to explore, try new tactics, and yes, fail. But every failure teaches you something important about the world and the people in it. Now, one of the best parts of Deathloop has to be the main antagonist, Juliana. She's this sassy, relentless assassin who's trying to stop you from breaking the loop. Colt and Juliana feel like real people with history. The game also throws in some fun twists with powers and weapons. You get these abilities that feel a bit like Dishonored. What Remains of Edith Finch. If you've never heard of this game, let me tell you, this isn't your typical video game. It's not about shooting enemies, leveling up, or saving the world. Instead, it's an exploration of life, memories, and the extraordinary in the everyday. Here's the deal. The game puts you in the shoes of Edith Finch, and she's on a journey to explore her old family home. And as you wander through this strange, sprawling mansion, you uncover stories about the Finch family, their lives, and, well, let's just say some fascinating truths about them. What makes What Remains of Edith Finch special is how it tells its stories. This game doesn't just tell you things, it lets you experience them. Each story you encounter plays out in an entirely different way, with gameplay that constantly surprises you. You might go from doing something totally grounded and relatable to something whimsical and surreal, and it all flows together so naturally that you're constantly caught off guard in the best way possible. And honestly, I think that's the beauty of this game. It's like a collection of short stories, each one distinct yet connected. You're not just playing. You're participating in this deeply creative anthology of lives, moments, and emotions. It's the kind of game where every single scene feels purposeful. Every tiny detail serves to pull you deeper into the world. One of the most amazing things about What Remains of Edith Finch is how much it respects your curiosity. The game doesn't rush you. There's no ticking clock or looming threat. Ghost Runner 2. If you've ever wanted to feel like a cyberpunk ninja with the reflexes of a cat and a katana that slices through anything, Ghost Runner 2 is going to be your jam. So, picture this. You're running through this gritty, neon-soaked dystopian world, slicing your way through enemies with style. This isn't your average action game. Ghost Runner 2 demands precision, speed, and that satisfying rhythm, where every move you make feels like it's part of one smooth flow. It's like you're dancing with death, and the game just pulls you right into the zone. Every jump, every slide, every slice has to be on point, and when you nail it, you feel like a total boss. One thing I really love about Ghost Runner 2 is how it mixes up the action without losing that signature high-speed parkour meets swordplay vibe from the first game. You're still running up walls, dodging bullets, and taking out enemies with a single slice. But the environments are more varied, and there are some wild new mechanics. Like, let's talk about the bike sequences. Yes, you get a badass motorbike. These sections are crazy intense, and they really add a fresh layer to the gameplay. Imagine zooming through narrow passageways on a bike at ridiculous speeds, dodging obstacles and jumping ramps. It's pure adrenaline, and it breaks up the swordplay sections perfectly. Now, I'll be honest, this game is tough, but it's that good kind of tough, where every death just makes you want to try again and do it better. The controls are tight, and you feel like every success is completely in your hands. Alone in the Dark. It's not your typical action game. It's designed to make you think about your surroundings, your choices, and how you tackle obstacles. Puzzles are a big part of the fun here. They're clever, without being overly complicated. They keep you engaged and make you feel like a genius when you figure things out. Combat is another element that stands out. It's not just about fighting. It's about staying calm under pressure and using the tools at your disposal wisely. The game does a great job of keeping you on your toes, but it never feels overwhelming. It's the kind of combat that rewards precision and quick thinking. And when you come out on top, you feel like you've truly earned it. What's really fun about Alone in the Dark is the way it balances tension and exploration. You'll find yourself inching through corridors or cautiously investigating new areas. But it's not all about fear. There's a genuine sense of curiosity that drives you to keep exploring. And let's talk about the pacing. Alone in the Dark knows how to keep things interesting. It has this great rhythm where it alternates between slower, more thoughtful moments and bursts of action or intensity. That ebb and flow keeps you engaged and makes every part of the game feel meaningful. The mechanics are solid too. The game gives you plenty of ways to interact with the world, and it feels intuitive without being overly simplistic. Whether you're managing your inventory, piecing together clues, or navigating through tricky encounters, everything feels polished and